Never shall innocent blood be shed. Yet the blood of the wicked shall flow like a river. The three shall spread their blackened wings and be the vengeful striking hammer of God. You people have been chosen to reveal our existence to the world. You will witness what happens here today, and you will tell of it later. All eyes to the front. You must watch, dear. It'll all be over soon.
Now you will receive us. We do not ask for your poor or your hungry. We do not want your tired and sick.
It is your corrupt we claim.
It is your evil that will be sought by us.
With every breath, we shall hunt them down.
Each day, we will spill their blood till it rains down from the skies.
Do not kill, do not rape, do not steal. These are principles which every man of every faith can embrace.
These are not polite suggestions. These are codes of behavior. And those of you that ignore them will pay the dearest cost.
There are varying degrees of evil. We urge you lesser forms of filth, not to push the bounds and cross over into true corruption, into our domain.
For if you do, one day you will look behind you and you will see we three. And on that day, you will reap it.
And we will send you to whatever God you wish.
And shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand. May swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow river forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be.
In nomine Patri.
Et Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
How far are we gonna take this, Star?
The question is not how far. The question is, do you possess the Constitution? The depth of faith to go as far as is needed?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
As
Well, we have had some very serious streams in the last couple of weeks. So tonight's not one of them. We're breaking with that tradition. And we're just going to have some fun. Yeah, I came up with some analogies. Plutarch told me I'm taking my analogies too far.
Uh,
Yeah, we can still have fun with them, though.
He is. We'll get into it, and then we'll have some fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, analogies sometimes need to be taken too far because they're just an analogy. You can never get it right. Sometimes they don't go far enough, sometimes they go too far, but they're meant to reveal truths that so you can see it in a different way and then consider it. So, our topic tonight is elevating plates. A plate is the analogy. Some men put their plate on a pedestal and then just admire that plate and then complain when the plate doesn't suit his needs. And so other men say, well, don't do that. Just spin plates. But that means you got to put that plate on a stick and keep adding energy to it. In either case, the plate is being elevated. So I wanted to draw some parallels to the two of them. Both of these things elevate plates above practical usefulness. Both of these require attention and effort. And both of these minimize the flaws or the cracks in the plate. And they both prioritize the existence of the plate above its function. Oh, what is its function? Well, the function is not merely pleasure and entertainment. And you know what? If you put that plate up too high, it's difficult to take it down and wash it effectively. A plate is not self-maintaining. So what do you guys think? Any other parallels that I'm missing here?
Well, Tacticus has a couple in the chat here.
Oh,
Okay, Steve, got a question. Got a couple questions for you. And the
Okay.
second question, Tacticus, it's actually in Steve's notes, so we'll get there. But the first one, Steve, how do you spin an obese plate?
Well, just requires careful balance. You know what?
And a stronger stick.
Really?
Hey, it's after 8 minutes.
I might be
It's
taking
after
that stick a little too far.
Dude, hey, you know what? I'm going to come up with a different answer. What a silly question. Whoever chooses to spin an obese plate?
Lots of men.
I have the answer.
Okay, Nick.
Guys with beer goggles and guys desperate enough. Or both.
Yeah. And there's an unfortunate amount of desperate out there.
Oh, can you imagine if you stop spinning that obese plate and it actually falls off the stick? What a commotion that would be. Well, what else do you guys have to say about
Harder
this?
they fall.
Move right on into the uh, my other analogies.
Well, putting on a pedestal. Is this pedestal? Are we talking about pedestalization or possible pedestalization of a woman?
No, actual pedestalization. She is so precious. Oh man, she's my better half. She's the boss. I meant to serve this woman. She's so pure. She's so beautiful. It's like it's a worship. When you put a woman up on a pedestal, you're basically worshiping the ground she walks on. Well, she's not really doing much walking because her feet don't touch the ground.
That's
So
what happens when you elevate a plate.
yes.
Or a
Well,
possible result of elevating a plate.
so this whole thing stems, of course, from the analogy of spinning plates. You have more than one girl, and you have to, the plate spinner guys, they have to keep putting energy into each individual plate. Okay. I would argue, and this is me, you guys can tell me I'm wrong, but I would argue that the moment that you elevate a plate to some sort of special status above the other plates, you're no longer spinning that plate. You're saying this plate is special above these other plates.
Isn't that what women do with men?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'll agree with you. But what's your goal? Okay, if you put one plate up high, then your goal is that one plate. If you put many plates up high on sticks and you keep spinning them, what's your goal? Many. Your goal is still the plate or the woman. It's the same focus. Your focus is not on your purpose. Your focus is on the damn plate.
So your assertion is that you can have you can have multiple plates up on pedestals.
No, you can have multiple plates up on sticks.
Okay.
But you're still putting the plate above you. You're not worshiping the plate, but your goal is the plate on the stick. It's an elevation of the plate.
Got it.
You may not, you're still, it's your focus. Okay, as a man, is your focus your mission? Or is the focus your woman or a woman or many women?
Well,
I think, well, if you did a
spinning
TUA route, it tends to be spinning plates, but not necessarily.
yeah, there are some pickup guys who they don't have either a lot of plates or they only do one at a time. But one thing I would point out is that even keeping one plate spinning takes a pretty large amount of focus, mental energy, obviously physical energy. If you have even one woman that you're spinning as a plate, you're definitely putting a lot of focus into keeping that plate spinning. Do it with 3 or 4, you're spending some serious time on this.
Well, the red pill talks about money, muscles, and game. That's what a man should do. Get money, muscles, and game. Why? So he can get women and spin plates or get the one woman, that one plate. It's still, where's your goal? Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting a woman, but if that's your primary life goal, I think your life is a bit out of balance.
Ironically,
Well,
given
most guys, I'll say this: like most guys, yeah, they want a woman, right? And yeah, money, muscles, game do have a lot to do with that. But at the end of the day, it can end up being a dance monkey dance situation. Do these things get the woman? You get the woman, then these things were accidental towards getting the woman, so they were never really part of who you are as a man and your on your purpose or mission.
Well, and money, muscles, and game are great for attracting women. Okay. But if you don't have frame, you're going to do exactly what Steve is talking about. You're going to take that plate and you're going to put it up on that pedestal because you don't have frame. Look, you can have endless short-term relationships without frame. It is not hard. Go to the gym, get ripped, you get your money on point, get your game skills elevated. You will have women rotating in and out of your bedroom like you guys hopefully rotate your underwear, okay? Money muscles game gets you women. These are not bad things for men to have, okay? If your goal is to keep a woman, they are woefully insufficient to the task because you will do as Steve says and pedestalize the woman because you have no frame.
So we know this from a lot of men. Even modern men now say, you know what? I just want a woman, a wife, someone I can depend upon, someone to give me kids, provide companionship, and not try and boss me around and do everything. You know what? They just need someone in their life. Where do we find this story? Oh, in Genesis, the creation story. Adam said, did all this stuff and said, God, I'm lonely. I've found no suitable companion among all of creation. So God made a companion, a helpmeet. He didn't make a partner. He made a companion, a helpmeet. It wasn't primarily for sexual gratification or sexual outlet. It was someone to accompany him through life. I think that's what most men want.
All right. And Steve, based on modern society and the numbers run by Aaron Clary in his book of numbers, and he's got something called the menu. What does he say? Not on the menu. It's not on the menu. Wife and kids, wife picket fits, not on the menu.
Well, I think
Now
his
you
analysis.
might
Go ahead.
find like the unicorn, but in general, not on the menu.
I think in his statistical analysis, he came up with something like 2.1% of women kind of fit the bill. It was low.
I thought it was around 3, but somewhere around that.
Oh, okay, 2-3%, whatever. I mean, it's
Yeah. It wasn't very good. That wasn't a good outlook. Very dismal numbers. Well, Solomon said something similar in the book of Ecclesiastes. He says, "Not one woman among 1,000 have I found." And that was
right.
Solomon, and he had 1,000 women.
You mean he had a valid sample size? And
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. This whole rest of the stream is going to be about plate analogies. I guess, I don't know what I was feeling. I wrote this over a week ago. And I was having fun with it. So let's move on. Oh, okay. A plate is not a table. A plate is placed on the table so it can be utilized for sustaining life. A man will appreciate the utility of his plate and is not prone to abusing his plate because he needs it to remain intact and serving his needs. He does not want to chip or crack his plate, and he puts effort into keeping it clean, which occasionally involves a bit of scrubbing. A pretty plate is nice, but if it is too fragile, then it might not be the plate he needs. The man does not serve the plate, but the plate does serve the man's needs. A man must buy a plate from a store. Wait.
I could see the analogies already. Keep going.
I gotta adjust my size here. I should have presented this. What? Man. Okay, there. A man must buy a plate from a store if he wants one. The plate might be on display with many other plates, but he should evaluate the choices of plates to find one that suits him. So, what do you think of the analogy so far?
Well, pretty good. But I thought a woman was the table. You're telling me she's just a plate?
A man has never said, I've never heard a man say that a woman is the table. It's always a question posed to women. What do you bring to the table? Huh, I am the table.
Yeah, they're a plate.
Homath does a whole video on the excruciatingly detailed logic of why they're wrong. I don't have a link to it, but you guys can go find it. But yeah, the one of the problems with being the table, though, is when you are the table, you end up serving the needs of the man, because you have to, because the man puts his plate on the table so he can eat, but the man also writes on the table, studies at it, like you can put multiple books out on a table and you can study. Like, a table is a utility. And so when these women claim that they are the table, they are claiming that they are a utility. It's not this strong argument that they think it is.
But she is basically saying she's the table. She is his plane of existence.
Right.
She doesn't have to bring anything into it. She just is.
No,
Of
I'll give
course.
you a better analogy. Right? I like dogs, but a lot of them act like bitches, right?
Half of them are.
I'm just gonna say my dog was a male dog. He was a better table than the bitches. This dog was loyal. This dog behaved. This dog was there. He'd be there when, he'd come up, he'd sit down, he'd lay next to me, I'd pet him. He brought me a lot of comfort. And this dog would even bring me presents. Not just the poo-poo presents. He'd bring his kill home.
That's what a good dog does.
He's a good dog. He'd leave it at the doorstep. See what I brought you.
That's what a good dog does for the leader of the pack. The leader gets the kill, and then the leader has to decide to share the kill with the dog.
So there's another thing that's hidden in here. Women think men are abusive. And if he's just given the power, he's going to misuse it. No. I mean, sure. Absolutely. There are circumstances. But the vast majority of men actually care for what belongs to him. I mean, how many men do you know who go out and buy a fancy sports car and then spend no money on a maintenance, don't change the oil, and just drive it like hell, beat it up, never pay it any attention or put any effort into maintaining it? Does that happen?
I've seen it
Yeah,
happen.
it happens, but it's not normal. Not normal
Yeah.
at all.
And usually those guys tend to be,
And that would not make a good friend.
yeah, they tend to not be good friends. They tend to be very feminine in their, um, just in their thought, the way they think and treat the world. Like it's, yeah, like, yeah, it happens, but men of value aren't going to do that because at the end of the day, the guy who can afford to go out and buy the $250,000 McLaren understands how much effort it took to get the $250,000 to buy the McLaren. He's not just going to, I mean, they still do wrap them around telephone poles because guys can be, well, we can be aggressive, but it's they take care of them typically while they have them.
Yeah, that's called being reckless, not being negligent.
Yes.
So men are typically not negligent because, hey, even in most of these divorces, what was the man doing with most of his time? Working, earning the money to
Just working
provide,
and spending. Yeah.
working the money to provide for his family. Therefore,
Yeah.
he was not a selfish man. Most divorced men were not selfish, were not abusive, did a pretty good job providing. Uh, Women don't really accept, they don't understand that. They don't look at the actions and understand what the actions of the man mean. Yes, maybe the man wasn't as attentive as he could have been, but he was most likely providing as best as he could.
Yeah, but why do they think that men are, well, let's just say what happens to these men, right? They get, the women are incentivized. They don't care about that because why? They know big daddy government's going to come in and put this man through a living hell where he barely gets to see his kids. He can be accused of all sorts of crap, and then he has to pay out the nose to raise children that he really has no say in. So these children are essentially kidnapped, and then he has to pay the kidnapper. And the women never appreciate what they had in the man because it's always guaranteed to them. They're always protected from their crappy decisions.
You can't have a normal relationship when the woman has more power than the man.
Nope.
Essentially, because of all the recourse she has and the ability to call on others, other men, and it's male enforcement, other male enforcement, and the government. Technically, she has more power than he does. They are not equal. He is more powerful.
That's reality. It's not pretty.
So, nevertheless, men spend their lives looking for a plate or more than one. So, where do you find one? It's possible that a man finds a plate that has been discarded. Where? In the. Oh, discarded. I gotta shrink this down some more. I'm not used to doing this.
Don't say it, Nick. Don't say it.
Yeah, you know what else?
Homer,
Yeah.
I don't know why this. Oh, I gotta use my slider here. No, that still isn't working. Oh, view. Okay, we'll do this. It's possible that a man finds a plate that has been discarded in the street. He may think that if he claims that plate and takes it home, it will be useful and serve his needs. Beware. He has no idea where that plate has been and what poisonous substance may have been placed on that plate. The toxins may still be present, but not visible.
Okay.
And use of that plate may lead to his detriment. Therefore, it is
George
unwise
Bruno,
to. Oh, okay.
you
Go
finish
ahead.
that sentence and have a comment. Finish that sentence.
Therefore,
Just
it is.
finish the paragraph. Then
Therefore, it is unwise to claim a plate from the gutter of the streets.
So George Bruno has a thing that every once in a while he puts up. Says, "Say a prayer or something for every man that tried to make a 304 a housewife."
Yeah.
Well, that's all you can do for them because they're lost. I mean, seriously.
Doesn't work. It doesn't work.
But here's the thing. Not only does it not work, there is now so much evidence on the internet for all to see of it not working that if you don't see it at this point, that is willful ignorance on your part. And you are choosing to place the acquisition of pussy above yourself. It says a lot more about you than it does the woman.
But in Hosea, didn't he take a street whore and wife her up?
On the command of God, and it doesn't end well.
No, really.
Could have been so he could document what a bad idea it was. God used him as an example.
Hey, and you don't have, just because you have this example doesn't mean it's therefore commanded to every single man out there, and it's therefore a good idea. The whole point was it was a bad idea.
Right, but this is a situation we're in now.
Yep.
Men have to go look for a woman, a plate. You don't know where it's been. You don't know the history of that plate. It's not like back in the olden days when you when you got them, at an early age before they'd had a chance to experience much. Every woman wants to have some experiences. Not necessarily a good thing from the man's standpoint.
It's not a good thing from the man's standpoint, but when you consider that feminism and the entire message of feminism is do nothing for the benefit of men, it kind of makes sense that they would say, well, if I'm to do nothing for the benefit of men, then I should only do stuff for the benefit of myself. And most humans, from a limbic system perspective, are driven by their base hormonal desires, right? We're driven to eat because we have to live, but there's a huge dopamine hit when you eat. That's the brain reinforcing, hey, you need to eat to live, right? It's what makes fasting such a useful mental training tool. Okay. And why it was so common in the Bible. So, just as an example. So, of course, the vast majority of women who are less adept at controlling their emotions and physicality than men are going to go, oh, well, if it's not for somebody else, then it must be for me. And by the way, here's what I want. And you can't tell me that what I want is bad. So yeah, of course they're going to say, you know, it's interesting because it also ties into the I am the table thing, because because if you define yourself by nothing more than your base human nature, then, well, of course you're the table. You don't have to bring anything else, because the sum total of your value is the things you want, and the things that and I know it doesn't make any sense, but when I say the things I want, I'm talking about the carnal needs here, food and sex. And so you say, well, I can get food if I trade sex for it. Well, okay, we call that prostitution. So when you say I'm the table, what you're really saying is I'm a prostitute available to the highest bidder. Because I don't need to be anything more than that. I don't have to be any better than that.
Yeah, they don't think they need to be useful or have utility.
Well, a table has utility, right? It's just that the utility is the utility of a table is not in being a table. The utility of a table is the things I can do on top of a table, right? So what these women are saying is well, my utility is sex. That sex can be used for fun or procreation or whatever is immaterial to the discussion, because I am sufficient entirely for being capable of having sex.
Except they don't many times after a few years or a year.
Well, but that's the conflict with do nothing for the benefit of a man. You see, when you get married, there's really only one man that it's socially acceptable for you to benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
and if he ever decides to leave her, cash and prizes.
Well, okay, it's to her benefit now. So why do women trade sex for resources early on in the relationship and then magically appear to stop? Well, because it was never about the sex. To them, the sex was something that they gave away for free. That they give away, right? You know, it is a loss in sales terms. It's a loss leader. They're giving it away at a loss so that they can ensnare a man who has sufficient resources that they can extract resources later. Specifically, they want to extract enough resources that they never have to give out the sex again.
It was yeah. If it was use sex, get commitment. But once commitment is given, once his resources and provision is established, it's in her mind that's permanent. She never has to do anything for him. There's no quid pro quo. There's no exchange of value. No need for her to be useful, even provide that sex, because she's got what she wanted. And now she's got all the power to keep getting it, even he withholds the one of the main reasons he married her, for sexual access.
Hey, and then they'll complain afterwards. Why is he on OF and Corn?
The hub.
Yeah.
Hey, why is he looking at other
I
plates?
don't excuse it. I'll always condemn it, but I understand why men go there, especially married men. It's not 100% thing, but a lot of times it's the woman's gotten obese, or even that. Maybe not just that, but especially dead bedroom. There's a dead bedroom problem. She's not
So
giving it up.
my ex was exactly this way. I mean, I've said before, I know her body count was triple digits before we got together. I know, guys, red flags. Remember, I was doing the church thing. The church told me
We
what
all
to
were.
do. Yeah,
We all
exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And I told myself, look, the church, they won't, it's it's God's church. They won't lead me wrong. You know, yeah, Nick, I see you rolling your eyes over there.
Mhm.
But that's what we tell ourselves. And then of course you get into the marriage, and within 6 months, it's gone dead. Okay. So this girl, and I knew that this girl could absolutely be a sex fiend. You don't get to triple digit bodies without it, right? You're giving away your pussy like a Skittles. Okay. And then in 6 months you're telling me that you know you just can't anymore. Bullshit. Absolute demonstrable bullshit. Okay. Look, there was nothing more out there that will convince you of the church's complicity and downright ignorance of this situation than living through that.
See, the church is just like the dishwasher. You fill it full of dirty plates, run the cycle, now they're all clean.
Born again virgins, here we go.
God. At least my ex had the presence of mind to never claim born again virgin status. I think I might have actually, and that's interesting because if she had tried that, I probably would have dumped her. Because there was no way even then that you were going to convince me that you've got triple digits hanging off you, that you're now some kind of born again virgin. So to her credit, she didn't even try. But it would have been better for me if she had. Guys, women are crafty. They and they pay attention to what, if they have a specific guy in mind, they pay attention to what works. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
Tacticus. Yeah, I know. Hey, you got to give me some points for trying, right?
right. So, men are kind of waking up. Some men are. I mean, there's just kind of men are on strike. They're not really paying attention. And it's frustrating a lot of women. And now they're complaining about it. And then, of course, the men are complaining too. But some men just look around and say, this is pretty bleak. So they get the idea that they should import a plate from a foreign land.
Oh no.
He may not have found a suitable domestic plate, and thus thinks the plates made in other parts of the world are better. This is within the realm of possibilities, but a plate is a plate. Some are better than others, but a plate from far away is harder to evaluate and often touted for being higher quality than it is. This may initially look good, but it may not withstand the test of time.
Okay, Plutarch, nudge your direction.
Well, this is a timely topic because there's been two kind of trends that I've been following on Twitter. And one of them is this passport bro thing. And I like Joker, listen to a lot of his stuff. But he put out a tweet. It was, it's nightlife in Moscow, Russia, right? He says, not a fat cow in sight. No wonder men head east or far east. Okay, understandable. My response was, too bad the divorce rate is higher than in the US. This pretty will cost you dearly. And somebody else actually came in and said, oh, yeah, by the way, here's what Grok says. Russia has the highest divorce rate in the world at 70%, and it has a significant problem with HIV, 60 in 100,000, which is very, very, very high outside of sub-Saharan Africa. Okay. So, look, I'm not saying that passport broing is inherently bad. Shit, I did it and it worked, right? But you kind of have to be a nerd. You have to be willing to dive into stats like this and go, oh, you mean I should not stick my dick in this pretty even more because the chances of getting HIV are higher. And oh, by the way, these women absolutely will use men for resources and divorce grape. Because look, guys, we've talked about this before, but modern feminism, as you know it, was invented in Leningrad in the 1920s. Okay. The communist feminism that you guys know is a Russian invention.
Rachel Wilson talks about that in her book, Occult Feminism. What was the name of the woman?
Oh, I can't.
Alexander Kollontai. Kollontai. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and they went full bore feminism, legalized abortion. Oh, it's free love, and that lasted about what until
Stalin.
Yeah, okay, the early 30s, right?
Yeah.
Then they figured, we got we're gonna have a population crisis here. We need men for fighting, service, labor, whatever. So we can't abort all our babies. So they outlawed it.
The man who was
curtailed
responsible. Yeah, the man who was responsible, this guy named Leon Trotsky, was so hated by Stalin that he had to flee Russia, went to Argentina or Mexico, somewhere down there. Mexico. And Stalin had the NKVD hunt him down and kill him with an ice axe. I don't know if you can get more personal hatred than that.
And that happened in 1940. He was assassinated in 1940.
Right. Russian women are not less feminist than American women. Russian women have been perfecting feminism longer than American women have. And look, guys, I can tell you story after story after story of men going to Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, whatever, take your pick, and getting absolutely fleeced. These women will have sex with you in exchange for money. They won't call it prostitution. You'll be buying her dinner. You'll be paying her rent. You'll be buying her clothing, etc. And they will fuck you, and they will do it enthusiastically. But the moment the money runs out, they're gone.
Yeah, so I mean, this plate shopping thing is fraught with danger. So instead of shopping for a plate, other men like single-use, disposable, or paper plates. I think Tacticus. Who was it that someone said something about that earlier?
Paper plates thinking they're golden plates. A lot of paper. Yeah.
Yeah. Who is that said that?
That one.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, guess
Lots of paper. See, we're getting to the paper plates. We got to give credit for guys who are tracking along with our thinking here. Okay, so these paper plates can serve a purpose to a starving or gluttonous man, but I'd rather eat a full meal off a proper plate. Also, paper plates are not very sturdy and can sag or collapse. This can create a big mess. How often have you seen garbage cans overflowing with discarded paper plates? Sometimes a desperate man will reuse a disposable paper plate that has been previously discarded. Is this wise? Is it wise to use paper plates? Have you ever seen a man going through the dumpster to find the cleanest dirty plate in the garbage? This message brings this image brings new insight to dumpster diving.
Oh,
No. Oh, so this is your the swipe right girls, right? Hey,
yeah.
I have all these things for a potential man, right? But hey, this guy looks nice. He's over 6 foot tall. Oh, look, he's got a six pack. Oh, he's kind of a bad boy. Swipe right.
Well,
Does he keep her?
there's
Nope.
another kind of
Disposed.
there's another kind of disposable plate out there, and this one hits.
How many times?
No. This one hits the mid range of SMV really hard. Okay. The other type of disposable plate is the 4, 5, 4s, 5s, and occasionally the 6s, but not as much. When they aren't hot enough to pull men, the men that they actually want, they will trade their sexuality for anything that even looks remotely like the attention of a man. And they will trade it. And look, guys, some of the most enthusiastic sex you're ever going to have in life is with a 4. Okay. Because you might actually be the best option she could ever hope to get. And all she's got is her sexuality, and she's going to use it. But these aren't women that the men want to keep around. And these women tend to throw themselves at men. So there's a lot of use put on these plates, particularly if you're willing to take a dive down to the 3s, where most men can get the action they're looking for. Okay. So there's another aspect of disposable or single-use plates. Women will sort themselves into being paper plates.
This is the modern dating market. You have a lot of women that are disposable paper plates. And what do men keep doing? They keep going into the garbage, thinking that they're going to find the golden plate amongst the disposable plates. No, they're thrown away not by accident, but for a reason. And they let themselves be thrown away.
Men, I have bad news for you. There are no diamonds in that dumpster. None. Just stop. That is feminist programming eating your brain.
Now, I know some men that aren't Christian, they have no problem reusing discarded paper plates. Most men want, if they really understood what was going on, they would want nothing to do with that.
Which is why the red pill is so important. The more men who get this education, the fewer options these plates are going to have. And that is always a good thing.
Right.
So, I started out saying maybe we're taking this analogy too far. I don't know. In this analogy, which are we criticizing more? The plate or the man using the plate?
Both. Women have agency,
Yeah.
guys. So do men.
Yeah,
They,
Right.
women
they
can.
chose that, and you choose to pick up the paper plate.
Right. Women chose to present themselves as disposable plates, and men chose to eat off disposed paper plates. Like, guys, you're not doing yourself any favors here, and just because the woman says that it's okay doesn't make it okay. Guess what? Eve said it was okay to eat the apple too. Didn't make it okay, but guys have been making this mistake since the dawn of recorded history.
Remember, Proverbs 30, verse 20 says, "This is the way of a woman who commits adultery. She eats and wipes her mouth, and she says, I haven't done anything wrong." You're reinforcing by picking up these disposable plates that they have not done anything wrong.
Yep.
Okay, should we move on?
Sure.
Some men have a hobby of spinning plates. This takes a lot of effort and attention. Eventually, the plate stops spinning and falls to the floor. This often cracks the plate, or at least results in chipping. This plate should now sell at a discount, but often other men will still pay full price for that plate and overlook the chips and cracks.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
they get used, they get they're damaged goods, right? A lot of these women wear a plate that was dropped at one time, has got chips and damaged goods. Oh, you could take or it could be chipped before it ever started, or damaged before it even was ever spun, like with
right.
daddy issues, feminism, all sorts of things.
But the more times that plate has been spun, the more times it fell off and the more cracks and chips it has. That's pretty
will it,
easy to
will,
understand.
right? And men will still pay full price for damaged goods that might not even function properly as a plate on a table to eat food off of.
Okay, let's continue.
Yeah.
Many men put their plate on a tall pedestal to admire that plate. That plate is not very useful, and such man is often deprived of the sustenance that every plate should bring to the table.
Yep. We've mentioned that. You elevate, happy wife, happy life. Whatever you want, honey, I'll do anything to make you happy. It's always a yes man instead of saying no. And what happens generally as a result, or maybe this plate was there already acting like this, or the woman, you could say, is, oh, but I don't need to put food on the table. I don't need to make you a meal. I don't need to. I gave you that in the beginning, but I always got a headache. I always have some sort of problem. I'm not feeling it. I'm not going to put out.
So, putting up with that, basically allowing that to happen, condones it. Because then they get away with it, and then you lose even more power. Right now, the power men have is to leave.
Hey, Steve.
Okay, I'm not putting up with this. You know what else that's called? Dread
Frame.
game.
Fred, yeah, yeah.
Dread, yeah. But it requires frame to execute, because dread game scares the hell out of men. I mean, it's women hate it, but it scares men. But Steve, it sounds kind of like what you're saying is that culture is the sum total of what we allow it to be. we made it okay for women to be disposable plates. And so women became disposable plates. And now we're kind of regretting that. Well, okay, I can tell you how to remove your regret. Oh, you don't want to because being a disposable plate is fun. Well, this is why we have to deal with things like the epiphany phase. Right here on my Twitter, Alex Clark, women should only be sleeping with their husbands who genuinely care about them and they have a connection with. Pearl actually responded brilliantly underneath. Notice how this talk comes from 31-year-old Alex and not 21-year-old Alex. Bingo. We allow this of our young women, and then we allow them to turn around when they get older and say, "Oh, well, I wash my hands of that. The church has washed me and made me clean." No, it hasn't.
See, but he's wrong. That 31-year-old guy, he's wrong. She should only
Alex
sleep
Clark
with him.
is a girl, by the way.
Oh, Alex Clark. Okay. With all these qualifiers. No, there are no qualifiers. Sleep with her husband because he's your husband. That's all that's required. That's what you signed up for. That's what your oath was. He does not have to continue to prove himself, which basically she's saying the woman still has power.
Yep.
She's still using her sexuality for power over men.
Right. Well, and see that they want to.
EPS.
Yes, exactly. They want to think that they can do whatever they want in their 20s. And then the moment they hit, well, in Rollo's graph, it's 28, but we'll call it 28 to 31. The moment they hit that epiphany phase, they want all the benefits of being a virgin without actually being one. And they want to put additional restrictions that are not in the Bible, that have never been granted throughout history anywhere. And they want to come and they say, well, no, you have to genuinely care about me. Guys, I just want to make a quick point here. Genuinely care about. This is the definition of moving the goalpost. And what I mean by that is she gets to decide whether or not you genuinely care about her at any point in time. And if she decides that you haven't genuinely cared enough about her, well, no sex for you, buddy.
See, and that's based on her feelings.
Correct.
Nothing to do with facts. He generally cares because he gets up every morning and goes to work. And he earns enough money to provide for her and the family and their house and all that. That's not genuine caring. It's how he makes her feel. The rest is just taken for granted. So it's completely within her domain to decide if he measures up.
So quickly is the question I want to get to. Andrew, the wall typically comes a little later. The epiphany phase is usually where women pivot to trying to consolidate on one man, and they start putting all these restrictions on that kind of behavior. The wall is when they crash out and they realize that they're never going to get that.
So there's epiphany phase, then security phase, and then you hit the wall, right?
Yeah.
And the security phase is like early mid 30s. Epiphany phase is late to early 30s, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So the security phase is the wall is usually up in the 40s. There's that security phase in between the epiphany phase and the wall.
Increasing desperation, starting to lock down a man just for resources and kids.
Yeah. Shoo. Exactly. She wants God, but in her own image, which is why the church is so bent on feminizing God.
we did an episode called, remember guys, Jesus is my boyfriend. And we destroy this whole that Jesus is my boyfriend is basically creating God in her own image, her ideal man and her ideal desires. And therefore, then the church says, yes, sweetheart. And then the man can never add up. He will never, he's never good enough. And the church will say, yeah, but Jesus is so good. He'll never, ever criticize you. He'll be there just to support you. And how
And he
dare
loves
a
you.
man
He
ever have
loves
a
you for who
carnal
you
thought
are.
towards you?
Right, Nick? Jesus just loves you for who you are.
No.
You don't have to change. You don't have to behave in a certain way because he just loves you.
And guys, I can tell you this. This was kind of the women when I was a pastor in the Orthodox Presbyterian Church would rail against me. And their white knight simping husbands would come to me and complaining, oh, you're so hard on the women. I said one thing to the women, and I don't know, 3 to 5 things for the men, right? And the one thing that everybody got upset was, man, basically I applied scripture to women and didn't put up with their crap. Oh, he's so mean. Jesus wouldn't talk to me that way. Well,
Yeah, well,
eternity is a long time.
Plutarch kind of alluded to this, so let me continue on.
Yeah.
The most pathetic thing is when a man acquired a cracked or chipped plate and puts it on a pedestal. Others see this and laugh and try to tell him of his foolishness. Rarely does this work, because such a man refuses to see the flaws and acknowledge his folly. Perversely, he might think that he can polish that damaged plate long enough with much effort so that it can become the plate of his dreams. His chances of success are negligible. He may react by mounting his high horse so he can sit tall in the saddle and tell you why you are wrong.
Sadly true.
So all those simps that came to Nick to tell him why he was wrong, and the rest of it might actually apply to them too.
I think it applies. I'm just going to go ahead and say it does apply to them, because when you listen to how the church deals with men, because I went through, after my divorce, I went through the colonoscopy at the church, and all of the questions were about trying to figure out what I did wrong. Okay, and you can say, oh, but that's useful. We should try to sit down and figure out what we did wrong. And yes, I have said before, and I'll say again, I made mistakes. I did not. Yeah, I did not make mistakes that the Bible says, okay, this is valid reason for divorce. Okay, I did not do that. I made the normal mistakes of any human man out there. Okay. But when these men come in and they try to give you that colonoscopy in the church, after a while, and this is part of the reason I walked away, is it started to feel that it wasn't about trying to figure out what I needed to improve, but about making sure that everyone knew that they were better than me. That because their marriage hadn't failed and mine had, that they were doing it right and somehow I failed.
Somehow they can wash their hands of you.
Yeah. Now again, this isn't everybody, and I have said before, my pastor did not do this, to his credit, and there was an elder guy that I talked to. He was really cool about it too. But a lot of the guys, Yeah, Chief. Why did Plutarch not keep his ex's vows? It does kind of when they ask the questions, it actually does come across like that. Why didn't you keep your ex's vows? It's like they're not mine to keep.
But you don't have to be in the church to experience this.
No, you don't.
So, how many of us? Generally, this happens as you get older, but young men do it too. You see the woman your buddy is with, and you see the red flags, you see the problems. He's your buddy, so hey, you know what? Are you sure about this? Here's what the way women really are. This one might not be that great. I don't know. Oh, you're gonna marry her? Oh, okay. How many times does it work to warn another man not to do what he's about to do? I've not had any luck. They don't want to hear.
Hey, I didn't want to listen to my dad, but of course, his
Well,
reasoning wasn't quite my reasoning, but he had a good sense in a roundabout way.
well, and to be fair, there is a little bit of our culture has gotten so disconnected from these things that we no longer take people aside and shake some sense into them, because that would be impinging on their own personal freedoms, which it would be. But you know what? Sometimes us youngins we need that. But even then, I think, Steve, to your question, I think a lot of guys, they are so wrapped up in the fact that they are getting pussy at all that they couldn't hear it, even if you did take them aside and try to shake some sense into them.
Right. I think that's
Don't
true.
stick your dick in crazy. Don't stick your dick in crazy.
Well,
First, you have to learn how to
pill,
recognize crazy.
Right.
yeah, the
And a
red
lot of these
pill
young guys in the
movement.
church, I was a young guy in the church. I was a dumb. I had great aspirations. I had great thoughts. I could not evaluate worth a shit though, because I
Yeah,
was never taught.
but it's changed. It's changing now. It's I'll call it the red pill, but it's pervasive. Even young men who don't know what the red pill is are avoiding marriage. The culture is actually changing. This has been so blatantly in your face, the marriage failure and all that men are just avoiding. They're avoiding women now. So you don't even have to tell a lot of men, because I'm not going there anyway. And you know what? They're not even spinning plates. They're not even talking to women, much less getting naked with them.
I think a lot of that is really practical. Like for a lot of these guys, these women they might shoot their shot a couple times, but when mids start shooting you down because you're not good enough for them, you're going to go, you might not understand why to the autistic degree that the red pill does, but you're going to go, huh, so that's the game then? Fine, I'm going to go play video games. It's a natural reaction to the extreme levels of entitlement and delusion on the female side, that the men are like, meh. What? I mean, if you're an average guy and you walk up to an average woman and she says, no, you're too short, you don't have you don't have enough muscle, you don't, your jawline isn't perfectly symmetrical and chiseled, you're a creep. Or if they just say you're a creep, go away, or they, like a perfectly average guy, and you get you're creepy, go away. I think a lot of these guys, I think they start to believe it, that they are.
Well, it's like, the finding, dating, mating, it's a game. Men like playing games if there's a chance of winning. If there is zero chance of winning, he kind of says, I don't even want to play that game.
Right. Exactly. It's, if, as Andrew says, if 80% of women will only accept less than 10% of men, yeah, why play? Like, I know my odds of winning are so low that there's, and it's that it's not fun to use the game sense. But when you listen to men talk about dating, what do they complain about? Oh yeah, dating feels like a job interview. Well, not only is that not fun, and dating used to be fun, like even back when I was doing it, which wasn't that long ago.
Remember?
Yeah, it used to be more fun even 10 years ago. Okay, but men are like, all you're doing is sitting here running through this 497 point checklist of all the things I have to have. And of course, I don't have all of them because no man on God's green earth does, even the ones that they end up sleeping with and would be willing to settle down with, which is why a mid will turn around and divorce grape a high value man, because even that man does not meet her checklist. And so she tells herself, well, he failed in this way, this way, this way. So I need to get my bag and get out.
And
Well,
the first
that
ladies will subtly, they will not generally will not criticize that women. This will happen at Bible study groups for women. This will happen. You'll have pastor wives, they'll have group chats saying how bad this man is and you deserve better. Don't you ever put out for him. Oh, you need to get a separation. You need to get out of there because it might escalate to something more.
oftentimes what she blames him for are things that are actually she's responsible or accountable for. But since she can't take accountability, she projects that on him and blames him for that. And then that gives her an excuse to do that. And it's I would say most divorces involve a lot of projection of fault on the man. Really didn't or not, he's not the source of those faults.
It's there's a legal term for this, confession through projection. Learned that from Viva Frey, by the way, but that's a term that lawyers actually use. If you're in a criminal court and you start making all these accusations about all these other things you did, the lawyer, with very careful questioning, can actually bring it back to get you to confess to what you did, because you're telling him how to question you. And so, yeah, guys have to treat women like they have to act like lawyers with women. And it works. Actually,
Right.
okay, Steve, that is an interesting point. Males choose corn because the win outcome is guaranteed. Actually, yes. And look, it's not very fulfilling to get a guaranteed win in a video game either. So it's a cheap win for the men. It's a cheap dopamine hit.
It's a game genie.
Yeah. Right.
Remember those back in the day?
I do. But the point here is that men would much rather have a cheap win than whatever the hell it is women are offering them.
Okay, so so I still have these codes in my mind. So yes, I was one of those kids. I played Doom on Windows 95. IDDQD and IDFA were your best friends.
Yep.
That gave you God mode and all the weapons.
And now there's an interesting corollary here, because the cheat codes were written into games for the purpose of allowing the developers to test the code, and so they wouldn't have to play the whole game through. They could just skip around. They could use God mode to move very quickly. But they keep leaving them open and allow them gamers access to them. Why? Because some guys just want to play through to get the story. They don't want to have to do the hard work of grinding out X number of levels and experience points. No, they just want get the story and get out. Maybe they don't have a lot of time. Maybe they're just not interested in that, whatever. And so cheat codes have actually become a form of the game. That they allow the player to play the game how they wish to play the game. And it's not an inherently bad thing for the game. The purists will say, no, you didn't really beat the game if you didn't play through on, probably date myself here, on Hard Boiled. If you guys know the reference, congratulations. Game from 2001. But but not all of us have 100 hours to devote to a game. Some of us have lives, but we still want to get some of that experience. And I've done this. Mass Effect is one of my favorite titles, and I'll replay on a pretty low difficulty setting, just because I enjoy the story and seeing how your different choices affect the outcome. It's stuff like that. So
are there any cheat codes for marriage?
Actually, yes.
So, I mean, frame.
Yeah, and game.
Okay.
Now,
yeah,
game
okay.
looks very different for married guys than it does for plate spinners, but yes, there are cheat codes. You can game her a little bit, and look, a loot box full of pussy drops out. Interesting.
Hey, what about that cheat code that the Christian tradcons promote? If you just pray with her.
No.
You
not a cheat code, by
go
the
to
way.
church every week. You are more apt to stay married.
Steve, it's interesting though, because they promote it as if it's a cheat code. They promote it as if it's some sort of biohack or a shortcut in the game, but it's actually not. The actual shortcut. Look, guys, you have heard Elena to this day bitch about the girl who was flirting with me at a restaurant. That's called Dread Game. That is a cheat code, my friends. I hate.
Right.
I wish.
It still takes some form of effort.
Yes. Well, it's like I wish I could say that the guys offering the tradcons offering prayer were right, because that is sort of the Christian ideal. But it's not right. It doesn't work.
It works. Well, things are going good, because then she'll do it with you. But if things stop going good, then she's not going to do it with you, so you won't have it. So,
okay, but Steve,
more of a correlation than a causation.
I would go so far as to argue that it's a mathematical equivalency. If it doesn't work when the chips are down, then it doesn't matter if it worked when times were good.
Look, it doesn't work, guys. I did it. Look, I did my family worship. I did my prayer. The amount of disrespect and loathing for not doing it up to her standards was a constant criticism for, in her mind, a valid reason for leaving me, because I didn't do it well enough.
There's that.
How she.
But Nick, there it is. There's a subjectivity. You didn't do it well enough, where she gets to define well enough such that it's impossible for you to ever meet her standards, because it's not about the thing. It's about using the thing to get what she wants.
Right.
Okay, let's continue.
Steve, I got to bring this up just so people can see that she still fumes about it. Guys, she's going to take this one to her grave. That is the power of Dread Game.
And it wasn't that you weren't creating the situation.
Nope.
It just happened.
It's a standard interaction at a restaurant. That's it.
So I want to say Frame and Dread, these things still take work.
Oh,
they're not going to just magically happen overnight like you can enter in a cheek. You need to learn these things, and they will help you.
So
versus
that's
spending your energy on things that don't work.
Okay, so that's the end of my write-up. So we've kind of been discussing this throughout. Plate shopping and purchase, proper plate storage, proper plate use, proper plate care, and what are the similarities of different types of men that elevate plates?
Where are you finding a plate? What kind of store are you getting that plate from? Are you shopping plates in the dumpster? Are you shopping plates on, swipe right? What's it called? Modern dating sites.
Tinder, Hinge, Bumble.
Yeah, plate shopping. Okay, are you at a Christian conference? Are you at a church? Is it what's it called? Where you do like the 5-minute thing, fast
speed dating?
That's a thing. Yeah, that's a thing. Is
You
it
know,
a bar? Whatever.
I personally, I would say it matters far less where you shop. Honestly, I mean, I did the whole passport bro thing and then immediately brought up stats that said doing so was insane. Basically, 70% chance of divorce and incredibly high percentage chance of HIV. Okay, congrats. I won, but I shouldn't have. Right? Okay. Tinder, Hinge, Bumble. What was the guy? He swiped right on 3,000 profiles and got 8 dates. Okay, it's a numbers game, but you're going to put an awful lot of energy into finding 8 dates, and if you aren't as good looking as this guy was, you're going to spend even more. Let's see. Church? Oh yeah, you too can have a used up 304 who's been put in the dishwasher and made clean. Yeah, okay, that isn't really where a Christian guy wants to end up. Christian conferences, you could argue, well, they're selecting for that, but they're also selecting for church, so maybe not. And frankly, a woman who is out there at a conference trying to be seen, look, if you're spending that much energy on trying to be seen, you're going to spend a lot of energy trying to be seen in lots of different places. I'll guarantee you all those women at Christian conferences have extensive social media presences, and we've talked about what that means before. So, it's like, look, the percentage of women out there who you guys might even consider as worthy of your time is so small that the actual answer is all of the above, and accept that you may never actually get there in your life, because we're talking about less than 1% of women at this point.
So you're just gonna stumble across one. It may happen, it may not. Then, okay, when you're shopping, you have to be very good at evaluating.
Vetting,
yes. You just, I found a plate. This one likes me. I guess she's the one. That's not vetting, guys.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for a disaster.
Uh-huh. Yes. From experience, yes.
No matter where you find a woman, it doesn't matter. If you find her in church, you probably should be vetting even harder than if you find
Yes.
her out and about.
Well, Steve, what you're talking about, my ex, I met at church. My current wife, I did not. We met online. Okay. My relationship with my ex lasts 2.5 years. Elena and I will be 9 years this year. Yeah, 9 years. Huh. The outcomes are all wonky from what they quote unquote should be. Because it's not about, look, we often say here that Money Muscles game is just hypergamy insurance. Because what men who preach Money Muscles game as everything that's required are trying to get you to do is they're trying to get you to, well, it'll get you women. Like it's better than nothing, but it can't keep women. Okay. Well, the church can get you a woman, but it can't teach you how to keep one. Okay.
So before our stream, what was that? Was it you or Nick that was telling about that story? Guy complaining that he wasn't getting any now, and he checked her out ahead of time or red pill before. Was that you, Nick?
I don't think so.
It might have been me. I think it was a tweet that I since lost.
Yeah, okay. That tweet.
Yeah, I've since lost it.
Guys think I married her. I did all the vetting, and now she gained weight.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was me.
Yeah. So I did everything right, and she got fat. What do you mean you did everything right? Do you not know that there's ongoing maintenance, and you have to lead, and you have to continue to do work throughout the marriage? You can't just find the unicorn and say, oh, I can just relax now because I found a good one. If you don't pay attention and you don't continue to lead and provide the guidance, and that sometimes that means addressing things and enforcing boundaries. That's a big thing. Saying no, enforcing boundaries. If you don't do that, go ahead. Blame her for changing when you provided no boundaries or leadership or saying, don't do that. And it's all her fault.
Well, here's the thing I think that men get twisted. Frame is what allows you to set boundaries. Frame is what grants you permission to enforce those boundaries. Okay. But there's absolutely nothing that you can do. There's no amount of frame, there's no amount of money, there's no amount of muscles, and there's no level of game that can prevent a woman from saying, okay, I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. Money muscles game can get you women. Game necessary if you're going to be in a long-term relationship. It looks different. Frame, absolutely 100% a requirement if you're going to be in a long-term relationship. But all that frame does is says, here's the boundaries, and if you cross them, I will do this. And if she chooses to cross them, you're going to do that thing. But you can't stop her from crossing that boundary. Okay?
I've said for a long time, women are pliable. Women are social creatures, they reflect what's going on around them, and it easily influenced. So it's your job as a man to influence her with these boundaries, with frame and all this. And then her chance of going astray are lessened, are reduced. If you don't do that, she will be taking all her influence from elsewhere. And if you're not influencing her,
Somebody else is.
yeah, and you don't know where she's going. It's a crapshoot. Then it's a random. It's totally random. If you are using frame in leadership and boundaries, you are influencing the outcome. You're changing the odds. Still doesn't make it a certainty.
Well, so Chief, if you stop being the knife guy, keep frame, she just might leave. You're right. She just might leave.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Boy, do I know. Boy, do I know that.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, she
Because-
might leave.
Yep.
Guys, I know we're Christians. I know we're not supposed to like divorce, but that's
Yep.
her choice, not yours. You set the boundaries. She violated the boundaries. You enforce the consequences. If she chooses to leave, or if she chooses to do things like cheating that are grounds for divorce, and you have set that as a boundary, then you have to enforce those. The moment that you choose not to enforce the boundaries is the moment that she understands that she can do whatever she wants to you. And she is going to keep you around to get as much as she can out of you. And then the moment she thinks she can get more by leaving, she's gone. The only thing that can save a man in a long-term relationship is frame. There is nothing else. Okay.
And frame is no guarantee.
Frame is no guarantee, but without it, you are cooked. There is no hope for you without it. All we can do is say, if with frame you have hope, that's it. Without it, you have nothing.
If you think you can win by being the nice guy, remember, nice guys finish last.
So true.
There's a band that I know that plays a song called "Nice Guys Finish Last." Yep. There's some truth to it.
And if a woman tries to tell you that nice guys don't finish last with her, she is the one who is banging the she is the jailbird. She's the one banging the inmates.
Yeah, there's been a fast increase in that kind of behavior. And, the school teacher behavior. It used to be the men who were doing inappropriate things with the young ladies. That doesn't seem to be a problem anymore.
You're saying we've scared the men straight?
No, well, there aren't many male teachers anymore.
It's an odds problem. Yeah, that's what it actually is, guys. Yeah, Shu. If a woman's doing that, she's already abandoned and they just haven't pulled the trigger yet. However, many women will try to hide behind the fact that the guy filed first and therefore he's abandoning the marriage. To you church people, no, that is absolutely and 100% not true. And if you try to teach it as true, you're going to have some fun times at the pearly gates. Okay.
Yep. I've encountered that by the former church I was a pastor of, the elders there, and the guy that filled in for me when I left. He said, "You abandoned." I said, No. I already filed charges like 6 months beforehand. where she had already left, right? I had the text messages before she actually left where she had mentally already abandoned, and there was no keeping marital vows, just. And then they make all sorts of accusations and to kidnap my kids, and then to turn around and say, "Well, you're the one who filed." I said, "Well, what else was I going to do? You weren't going to do crap. You sat on my charge and say we're not going to do anything with them. How about a sincere F you?"
That expression come from the heart, Nick.
Yes.
Nick might have a personal dog in this fight.
Oh, I do.
So but there is this thing that the church does that, well, you filed, so therefore you're abandoning the relationship. That is yet more of the church abdicating its position as a moral authority to the state. Oh, well, the paperwork says that the guy filed first, so he must be the one. Bullshit, and you know it. Come on, guys. Cowards hiding behind the skirt of the state. Grow up.
Mm-hmm. We're both the church and the state has already usurped the husband's authority and thrown him under the bus to do so.
Well, that's all the content that I prepared for tonight.
There you go.
We're keeping it shorter tonight.
Yeah, that's good. So, is it next week that we're?
Yeah, next week's going to be a little different, guys. Next week is going to be a pre-recorded video. We will not be live, but it will be during our usual time. I don't know how much you guys want to say about what it's about, or you just want people to find out. But so we will. I don't know. I think we should be able to be there and chat along with you guys, but it will not be our usual live stream. I've got to edit some video down. Right now we're looking at about a little bit over 2 hours of video. We'll see what it gets cut down to. So this is a video we recorded a while ago. At first we were sitting on it because there was just so much other stuff that we were trying to do. And then eventually, it's time to put it out now, and you guys will understand when you see it. So next week's going to be a little different. It will be special. We're not going to do a whole lot of stuff like this, but yeah. So yeah, that's next week. It'll be a little different, but it'll be good. So Chief. And yes, join us on Saturday. I think Nick, you're not going to be there, but I will be. So it'll be Steve and I with my lovely wife. No idea what we're talking about there yet either. And Chief says that we need to get USAID dollars, which, Chief, it's funny, but I'm not sure I need money with that much herpes on it. So yeah, we will see you all on Saturday. We will see you all in the chat next Wednesday. Does anyone else have any final words? Nope. We're good.
I don't know. Did we take this analogy too far, or did it just cover a lot of the things people are thinking about? It's the world is kind of a difficult place to navigate right now. And you may not like some of the things we said, but a lot of men are thinking it and saying it and acting in line with the things we discussed. So deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Deal with it, guys. That's fantastic advice. Okay. Well, onward, and we shall see you on Saturday, and we'll see you in the chat next Wednesday. Bye.
But
There was a firefight! Son of a bitch!